Now, for more on Iran's elections and the economic impact, let's cross to Tara Kangarlou. She's an award-winning journalist, visiting scholar at the EastWest Institute, and president and founder of the non-profit organization Art of Hope. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, this went from a very crowded candidate pool to just a handful. So what are some of the frontrunners doing to really put themselves in the best position to win?
That's true, and it usually does. And as we can see, current President Rouhani and Ibrahim Raisi are really doing a good job campaigning. And in the past couple of days, I'm seeing a lot of parallels between what we often are used to in the West, in the United States in particular, and in Iran, which is truly unprecedented and unseen. I grew up in Iran and I covered the previous two elections. So it's very interesting to see the power of social media right now. Even a conservative cleric like Raisi is using social media and the pop culture to really tally up and rally forces behind him. So is the moderate candidate who is President Rouhani. It's also very important to note that the moderate voices in Iran are now being supported by the reformists, people like former President Khatami, that is no longer able to make appearances in public and on television. But these folks on social media are supporting their moderate candidates. So people are loud, people are being heard. A lot of celebrities are backing the reformist strand, but also you see some very bright faces backing Raisi. So people are out, people want to be heard, and that's one of the most interesting things that we as the outside audience get to see every 4 years in Iran.
Now, Tara, for people who aren't familiar, there are two main blocks in Iran's political spectrum. You have the reformists, like the incumbent President Rouhani, and you also have principalists. Tell us how a win for either of these blocks would affect Iran's economy differently.
I just wrote an op-ed in The Diplomat today, and I summed it up in this way. If we continue to have the next 4 years being led by the current president, Rouhani, we will have a similar method of engagement with the West. The Europeans have been very welcoming of the nuclear deal. They're very interested in the potential commercial interest in Iran. And the president is running on that promise that we're also going to work on removing the non-nuclear sanctions. Again, remember, Iran is not just sanctioned because of its nuclear program, but also because of the non-nuclear program. Then you have the other party, the conservatives, that are not interested in Iran opening up. So the other side would continue pulling Iran back to what we saw during the Ahmadinejad era, which is an era of isolation, an era where Iran is not engaging with the countries in the West in particular, and is really not having a positive, productive, and engaging image on the international community. And that's what a Raisi presidency will most likely look like. Another key point to notice is that he's recruiting and tapping into former President Ahmadinejad's cadre and administration to shape up what may be his future cabinet.
Now, certainly a number of hot-button issues. You mentioned the nuclear deal. You also have unemployment, which is a key issue for younger voters. What would you say could really be the tipping point when it comes to what makes or breaks this election for voters?
A few points here. First, Iran has a very young population. 50% of the country is under the age of 30. Now, the economy is a huge challenge, but President Rouhani keeps pointing out that he inherited an economy from the 8 years of the sanctioned Ahmadinejad era, where there was no growth, and in the past 3 years he raised it to almost 26% growth. So he argues that he needs more time to do so, whereas the contender Ibrahim Raisi really is tapping into the rural areas, the areas that are not as educated as the urban areas, and these are usually the supporters of folks like Ahmadinejad and the hardliner conservative strands that gauge in these conversations and really find the subsidiary promises that these candidates give as a strong, engaging talking point. So the argument right now, if you look closely between Rouhani and Raisi, is that you can't give free money to people. That's what Rouhani is saying, and Raisi is saying, oh, you haven't done enough. So the demographic that votes for these two people are very different than one another.
And Tara, just looking ahead, what needs to happen, do you think, to get the economy back on track, and what could the potential implications be for the region?
I spoke to a lot of young Iranians in the last couple of weeks, and a lot of them are startup business owners and interested in doing commercial work and delving into business opportunities with Europe in particular. Because of the confusion still going on with the sanctions and what has been lifted and what's still maintaining, there's very little banking happening between Iran and Western banks. So that's number one priority. Iranians inside Iran are interested in doing banking transactions and easily gauging the trust of their Western, again, in particular, European counterparts. So a lot of them tell me that that's one of the first steps. And then the second thing is Iran has been having a very militarized image in the last decade or so. And 4 years, or we should say 2 years since the 2015 nuclear accord is not enough time for that image to be reversed or changed. So when you look at the images coming out of Iran, when I speak with young Iranians, despite what candidate they support, they want to be heard.
Right.
And platforms or moments like this allow them to raise their voice, and those who support the moderate narratives say that they want to engage with the rest of the world, which ultimately will help the economic growth.
Well, platforms certainly don't get much bigger than this. Thank you so much, Tara Kangarlou, visiting scholar at the EastWest Institute and president and founder of Art of Hope.